It changed everything.
Hey Frugal Pete's, Joel and Christy here, and today we're going to be talking about how a job loss and budgeting changed our marriage.
All right, first we're going to talk about prior to Joel's job loss, which is what changed everything. Um, he did have a budget for our money, but we did have two different bank accounts. His was spent for the bills and stuff, and then mine was spent for um, we put it in there, but we were using it to pay his seminary tuition, what wasn't covered by any scholarships. And our oldest son was in college, and he had a scholarship, but it wasn't paying everything. So all my money was going to that. So there was a lot of times that even though I was a financial secretary, I would question, do we have enough money? Like if somebody asked me if I wanted to go clothing shopping with them, I would worry that if I spent too much money, we wouldn't be able to pay a bill. So then I would say to him, do we have enough money? Tell me how much money can I spend? Things like that. And I think it kind of made him feel like I didn't trust him with the budget, but it was just that overwhelming fear, probably because I grew up in poverty, that if I wasn't careful, I was going to cause us not to pay a bill, and then that was going to be a problem, and it was going to be my fault for overspending. And so there was that little bit of a conflict or tension, I would say, between us that was being caused by the fact that I was worried about the spending that we were doing, and because I didn't have access to our budget. I just knew we had a lot of bills and stuff. So that leads us to the job loss.
Yeah, so around 2013, now I'm a big Excel spreadsheets guy, and I set all the budgets up on a spreadsheet prior to that, just because I wanted something simple. I knew there were things that programs you could use. I forgot what it was now, but there was a big popular one back then. Yeah, I guess it's not that much popular anymore. But anyway, I knew there was software out there for it, but I just didn't want to use it. So I set up my own budget on Excel, where I could just plug in numbers and it would change things, and I could just see it right there without having to run any kind of reports or anything. I could just see what was going on there. And then in 2013, I came across a program called You Need a Budget, YNAB for short, and I decided to try it out. And what I found was it was running my spreadsheet in their program. I don't know why, maybe I need some royalties off of that. I don't know, but it felt to me like it was running my spreadsheet in their program, and so it was very familiar to me, and it felt very easy to use, and so I set it up in January. Now, one of the tenets of YNAB is you live off of last month's money, and so the money that you make in December, you're not using it for December. You're going to be using it for January. The money you make in January, you're using for February, and so on and so on and so on. So you're working off of last month's money, and so we had enough money in our account for us to finish out. This was January of 2013, and we had enough money in our account that I could just use the money that was in there for our expenses, and the money that I made in January, I could set aside for February. And so I just did that. I set up a budget in YNAB, and then set the money that I made in January to be used for February. I went and did the budget for February with that money. Mm-hmm. And so we immediately got 1 month ahead on our expenses, and it was like, wow, this is a new way to do things, because we always lived, even when we made a lot of money, and we made a pretty good bit back then, and
not a lot,
but for the times, it was a pretty good bit. Yeah. And we lived in an area where the cost of living wasn't very high,
the cost of living wasn't very high. But what he made then we still don't make that much today.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's pretty close.
But still, so we got it all set up and started using it, and it kind of revolutionized how we looked at money and how we used our money, because another one of the ideas of YNAB is to give every dollar a job. So you don't have money just floating around in that you haven't assigned to some kind of an account, one of your regular accounts, expense accounts, or sinking funds or something. You're allocating every dollar that you make during the month to an account. And so we started doing that, and it was a good thing. I call it a God thing, but because back in May of that year, I lost the job that I had, and we still were at that point. We're still at least a month ahead. So we knew, lost the job in May, we'd have at least the money to get through June. I got a 3-month severance package that we turned into, I think, almost 6 months, a little over 6 months, and so we kept using the idea of using last month's money all the way through the job loss until I could find another job. So even though through the job loss we never got behind on staying a month ahead on our on our income.
That's right.
Yep.
Now, another thing to say about YNAB is that you can sync it to more than one device.
Yep.
And so what that gave us as a benefit was that I downloaded the app and we synced it together, so I can see the budget just as well as he does. So that kind of ended the thing that I talked about that was a problem with the tension, was no longer there, because I could see for myself if there was money in the budget, and if we were struggling in an area, or if we were doing well in an area, or if I needed to, make sure that I don't spend more than $100, or if I could probably get away with $200, I could see it in the budget myself. And so that feeling that he may have had that I was questioning him was gone. The feeling that, oh no, what if I spend too much money, was gone. So that benefited us as a couple, because we could see together where we were going with our budget.
That's right. And as a result of all of that, when we were in Houston, this was a little bit later. I mean, we moved to Houston in 2016.
It would have been 2016 or something.
Probably 2017 before we actually started those things. But we were, we would set our budget for the month, and we decided one day that hey, let's go out and get some brunch and talk about the budget. And so we did that, and it started to become an every month thing where we talk about the previous month, and then we talk about the month coming up, and kind of started those goal meetings that you see now on our channel that we started doing, and we've been doing them ever since, pretty much every month ever since. Yeah,
and actually, when he says brunch, it was really funny. The first time we did it, it wasn't really a brunch per se. It was, we had taken our car to the shop, and we had to waste like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
And we walked about
a mile and a half.
About a mile and a half to a McDonald's. And we sat down, and while we were there, we were just chatting. And all of a sudden we realized that this was benefiting us, because he was telling me some dreams that he had.
Yep.
And then I was saying, well, what can we do to afford those dreams? And all of a sudden we realized that through the goal meetings that we were having, where we were talking about our health, fitness, and financial goals, that we were dreaming together.
Yep.
And so now we look at our budget through the lens of not only just affording our bills, but what are our dreams, and is there anything in our budget that's holding us back from actually reaching those goals?
Yep.
And so then we start like, okay, well, if we want to do this, if he wants to run Boston Marathon, what can we do to afford the build up to that and the trip when it comes, around?
Yep.
And now he's like, he wants to run an ultra marathon. He also wants to run the Dopey Challenge again next year.
Yeah.
So those are in the back of our head. What do you have to do to afford the race fees and stuff like that? Is there anything in the budget that can be given up so that you can afford that? And we do that with me too. Like a lot of my goals have been like YouTube related and stuff. So we talk about what can we do to make these dreams? What can we do to grow the channel? What can we do to help more people with our tips and stuff? And so when we have our goal meetings, we also talk about YouTube videos and things like that. But it all stemmed from sitting down and then he was just talking about wanting to qualify for the Boston Marathon, but that it would mean having to run these other marathons and trying to run a Boston qualifier. And that was where it began, was saying, what can we do to afford the marathons, the trips that it may be required to get to it? Because I think his first attempt may have been the Houston Marathon, but after that, the next attempt was Utah.
Went to Utah, I ran Houston twice, then went to Utah, and
yeah. So, and we were able to cash flow those because we made our dreams a big part of our budget.
And so, with all that said, we want to encourage you as couples to consider budgeting together, or at least dream together, and start. How can we put these dreams, make these dreams become a reality, start working on those things together.
Now this is February when we're putting this video out, and that's the month that everybody talks about Valentine's Day and love and stuff like that. And we would just want to say that one of the most loving things that you can do as a couple is to sit down together and dream together and work together. Even if you don't put your budget together, at least be communicating with each other about what you want for the future.
That's right. All right, so drop us some comments below and let us know how you budget and how you dream and how you put those things together. And we'd love to hear those in the comments below. But I think that's going to do it today. For saving money for the long run, we're Joel and Christy. Don't forget it's the long run. Give yourself a little grace.
Bye.